overall money, the money thing. And we've got a special guest joining us, but we'll introduce the guest shortly. I'll let you know how you can be a part of the show. WhatsApp number 0809 4440981. You can also tweet at smooth981. We're streaming live on our YouTube channel as well, so you can catch that live stream up on Smooth981 on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe. Omas?
It's time for us to meet our guest this morning, Moyosore Taiwo. He's a research analyst with ARM. Good morning to you, Taiwo.
Good morning. Morning, everyone.
I guess Happy New Year is still in order because I just seen you for the first time this year. So Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year's.
In the spirit of the new year, it seemed the Nigerian Stock Exchange, as the NGX, seemed to be on the streak of, hot one and picking up the prices, almost about 80,000 at that point closing last week. So help us make sense of this. What has been the trigger for the Nigerian stocks having this hot opening in 2024?
Yeah, thanks for having me again. So last week we saw a lot of buying interest from demand with stocks like MTN, Airtel, Transcorp driving the improved performance. The stock market gained 6.54% on a week-on-week basis last week, coming hot on the strong performance from 2023. Lots of this price growth comes from investors positioning themselves in stocks that they believe would provide value at their current prices. And this is most especially ahead of their Q4 2023 results or their full year results for 2023. Additionally, for stocks like Transcorp, which was the largest gainer last week on a price basis, the price growth largely came from we saw large demand from insiders or management, for instance, and this usually happens when they believe a stock is undervalued or often during a power tussle.
All right. So can you define profit taking just for everyone listening?
Yes, of course. Profit taking is just simply realizing profits on your investment position. So a hypothetical example would be just look at MTN. For example, if MTN was priced at 20 naira today and next week is priced at 40 naira, when you sell at 40 naira, you realize that 20 naira profit. So that action is called profit taking.
This will lead us to looking at this hot streak it's been on. Do you see it, running into this week also?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Because it's been on this profit-taking streak for a while. Do you see that it having an impact on the stocks this week?
So I mean, yeah, typically what happens is when there is a price growth, many investors, so when you have, so for my previous example, when MTN is priced at 20 naira and it goes to 40 naira, that profit is not realized until the position is sold, right? So when we see that price rally, typically what investors do is, they take profits and then we see some selling activities with major investors typically just registering gains on their portfolio. So historically we see profit taking activities happen after a period of rally or a period of price growth.
So you're listening to Business Express on Smooth 98.1. Our guest this morning is Moyosore Taiwo, research analyst with ARM. Now let's talk about what a lot of Nigerians, or most Nigerians, are eagerly anticipating. The NNPCL says its test run of the Port Harcourt refinery will be completed this month. How important is this to Nigeria and Nigerians?
Yes, thank you for that question. So, I mean, just for a brief overview, the Port Harcourt refinery is one of the three major refineries that we have in Nigeria, the other two being Warri and the one in Kaduna. These three refineries have a total capacity of 445,000 barrels per day of crude production, and the Port Harcourt refinery currently consists of a 60,000, refinery, which was commissioned in 1965, and a 150,000 barrel refinery, which was commissioned in 1989. This is a total 210 barrel per day refinery, right? And back in 2019, the government committed to repair works that was expected to be completed in 3 phases, right? And the refinery was then shut down for rehabilitation, right? After the government, secured the service of Italy's Mayor Technimont, right, to handle the phase one of this process, right? And then in December 2023, the minister then announced the NNPC rather, then announced the successful completion of the first phase, which then resulted in the announcement of the proposed test run of the 60,000 barrel per day refinery, right, that I earlier mentioned, right. So this successful completion, would then would then lead to subsequent full ramp up to 210 by the end of 2024. However, it's common knowledge that a lot of our local refineries have been plagued with underperformance, largely, over the years. And, this has led that pretty much forced us to become net importers of crude production. So that means most of what we use, the petrol, the diesel, most of it is imported, right? And this led to, huge subsidy payments, the FX crisis that we see, because lots of our FX goes into, paying, for these imports, right? So in addition to the expected, Dangote refinery that has been in the news as well, right? We expect local production to increase, right? And this would lead to stable petrol prices, stable prices locally in the system, and also create jobs, right? Provide feedstock for companies, right? Companies who run on diesel, run on petrol, right? Instead of having to wait, they can get that. And then also the revenue, increased dollar inflow, and also energy security.
Well, it might be looking like there's progression when you talk from what you mentioned about the Port Harcourt refinery. Now,
Yeah.
link that to what the Dangote refinery, which is private, is also saying they've gotten the fifth cargo of crude oil already. So in
Yeah.
all of this, 650,000 barrel capacity matched out with Port Harcourt. Should we say our days of scarcity in terms of petrol is almost over?
Yes, yes. I mean, that's a plausible opinion, right? Given that I mentioned that the Dangote refinery is a 650,000 barrel per day capacity, and it's widely believed that that would meet all of Nigeria's demand, right? With excess, right? With enough excess for exports, right? And with the Port Harcourt refinery fully coming on stream, after the phase two, that's about 850,000 barrels, over 850,000 barrels per day. So that's giving us ample excess, for exports, right? And this would then lead to stable naira. You know how important that is for everything, literally, and improve currency inflows, higher government revenues. Right. And also one, particular, point, pinpoint is, improved global prospects, right? So when, foreign investors see that, oh, our revenues are increasing, or our performance locally is, an outlook is, just generally just improving, right? That would then attract or, make them invest, more of their capital into the market. So yeah, so they're definitely going to have lots of benefits.
All right, thank you for that, Taiwo. Let's talk about the foreign capital that's coming into Nigeria. Now, the FCT suffered a 53% drop and is yet to recover. What needs to be done to sort of turn this around?
Yeah, thanks for that question. I mean, historically, capital flows have been, sources of, foreign exchange for developing countries like Nigeria. So, and generally investors, are very responsive to growth prospects and investment opportunities, right? So, in the last, probably decade, right, we've seen, decline, right, in our macroeconomic, that's like inflation. Our inflation has been on the on an uptrend, right? We've seen, our foreign reserves been on a decline as well. We've experienced foreign currency illiquidity, right? Increasing fiscal deficits, right? So all these, contribute to negative prospects by foreign investors, and that's really what has driven the negative outlook, right? So in addition to improving those macroeconomic dynamics, I would say that, effective policymaking must also be undertaken, right, to create a conducive investment environment, right? And there must be a strong body language from the our leadership, right, to show that, okay, when foreign capital comes in, we have a clear commitment to deploy right into productive uses as well. And there should also be effective enforcement of the rule of law, where anytime they have any contentious issues, right, it can be duly sorted in the court system, the judicial system, right, and a fair outcome can be achieved. So I believe overall all these would improve the overall foreign capital in states like in cities like Abuja or FCT rather.
Mm. So what about competition from other states? How can the FCT compete against, states like Lagos, really?
I mean, Lagos is pretty much like, I like to call it, Nigeria's engine room, right? Because Lagos, generates probably, has over like probably the last decade or so, has generated the largest amount of IGR, and also, attracted the highest number of and highest, level of investment, right? And it has largely benefited from its geographical location, large tax base, infrastructural investment, and also its population. Right. And to compete, with states like Lagos, the FCT will need to improve their earnings base in general. And that comes from improving their revenues, right, or reducing their costs, or both, right? Just doing that. And this will largely also involve policymakers, like I earlier mentioned, just being very committed to transparency. When you announce a long-term development plan, you should be committed to being transparent in your communication to investors, right? And also the bureaucracy levels, right? That has to be minimized to the lowest levels in order to show that, okay, you're serious about attracting investments into your city.
So your tray for business this morning is almost empty. So in about a minute, if you can just sum this up for us, what's your outlook for the economy, Nigeria's economy this year?
Okay, so we believe that in 2024, our macroeconomic prospects will likely improve, right? Going from inflation, we believe that we'll see a moderation in inflation, largely due to, high, base effects, and also fewer shocks to the economy, right? And we also believe that the exchange rates will be less volatile, due to the previously mentioned improved crude production, right, and higher export proceeds, right? We also believe, and as a result, right, we would see, better, economic outlook, right, which would then attract, more foreign investments, from most like in our view, most likely in the latter part of H2 2024. So overall, and in the equity markets, we believe that, the stock market will continue on its, positive performance, right? Largely driven by improving, business, performances, as stock performances, as well as the, potential for isolation from foreign shocks, right? So that's just going to be my outlook. Yeah.
All right, we are at the close of it already, but let's get in a few messages in. Gilbert Musa from Fresh Start says, I disagree with your analyst on the assumption that fuel scarcity in Nigeria will soon be a thing of the past. Reason: Port Harcourt refinery was commissioned in 1989, but fuel scarcity hit Nigeria in May 1992. That's according to Gilbert Musa. We need to unravel the root cause of our failed refining capacity in Nigeria.
And there is another message. This one comes from Fine Oluboroku, and he says, Port Harcourt refinery coming on stream will help strengthen our Naira. I just hope it's not mismanaged by the handlers because that is a common story in government business in Nigeria. But then if we can privatize it, we will be in a better position. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your messages. And of course, special thanks to our guest, Moyosore Taiwo, research analyst from ARM. Thank you so much, Taiwo, and have a beautiful day ahead.
Thank you.